morning. Welcome back to Coaching Conversations. I'm Maria Savia.
And I'm Lourdes Lafer. Stay with us right to the end for some practical practices you can use right away.
Great. So today we're talking about that secret source of all internal chaos, the exhaustion of the cleanup. You know, that feeling when you realize you've taken a shortcut, or maybe you stretch the truth just a little bit, and suddenly you have to spend the 10 times the energy to cover up those tracks. And you have to keep trying to manage that lie or deception, or you're dealing with the fallout. And it's exhausting. It's exhausting because of you not being honest, or us not being honest.
Yeah. And if I'm being honest, I could be the poster child for this in my younger days. It was definitely something I struggled with. It was like living a double life, pretending to be one person on Monday versus the person I actually was on Saturday. That it's that inability to simply be who you are, right? Or, my inability to be who I was. It's an internal disconnect. And it's the root of so much anxiety and regret. It's a constant nagging voice that says, no, this is not the truth of who you are, right?
It's a challenge. Well, it is a challenge. I mean, I think that we all go through it, and I think that we all go through it, especially when we're younger, and really a lot with our home circumstances are not the best, right? So we're going to challenge that whole exhausting structure today with the Stoic principle. Real freedom comes from seeing things as they are, acting with integrity, and telling the truth. Make your life a chain of good or virtuous moves, one right action after another with no gaps. So consider that the chaos you feel isn't the world, but simply the gaps in your own integrity.
Yeah, your freedom isn't found in external success or applause. It's found in the simple, quiet act of being true to yourself, link by link.
Mhm.
It's certainly something I wish I had learned earlier. We all have that voice that whispers, "Oh, it's okay to take a shortcut if no one gets hurt," or, if you don't get caught, if no one sees, right? But that's the lie that creates the gap in the chain. Maybe it's telling your boss the report is almost done when in actuality you haven't even started. Maybe it's putting off an honest and difficult conversation with a friend, or maybe it's the act of telling a white lie. These are fake breaks. We delay the discomfort of dealing with the truth in this moment, and then we end up compromising our integrity for the temporary comfort. And we're basically kicking the can down the road of facing the truth.
Yeah, and I think that we have these little challenges on a daily basis. I mean, even when somebody tells you or asks you, do you like Taylor Swift? Do you not like Taylor Swift? And then you tell them you do because they do, or you tell them you don't because they don't. It's even those little things, right? I mean, it's like all the time, this whole debate with Taylor Swift, right?
I love Taylor Swift. There it is.
I hardly know her. So, we've developed a habit of compromising our integrity with these like little small choices. Then it's no surprise that as adults we feel flawed, because these small choices are actually, they're chipping away at our integrity. So as adults, we we lack, self-confidence. We walk around thinking, we're imposters. We walk around with the imposter syndrome. And then we start searching for who we are because we've diminished who we are by not being honest, by not being true to ourselves and what we know is right.
Yeah,
Look, we've all done it, right?
definitely.
Yeah,
Listen, go ahead.
well, it's because at some point we thought doing this small thing it would keep us safe. It would keep us in our tribe or in our high school clique. It's it's one of the reasons that we think the small lies are okay because we want to be safe, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's self-preservation, right? So,
Mhm.
I mean, using the Taylor Swift example, if you're in a friend group, and this is especially something that like I struggled with in my youth, then it's so much easier to go with the crowd and be like, oh yeah, definitely, I love Taylor Swift, or oh no, that's not for me. To stay within the in group, the group that you're in, it's the belonging, it's that safety, and so then we end up making these choices that are externally focused, and the maybe paying attention to the societal messages of what is important. And then we take these shortcuts and these little deviations. They seem insignificant, but in truth, the only person that we're hurting when we do that is ourselves, right? And that lack of integrity, that lack of being truly who we are. There's a wonderful quote about, the privilege of a lifetime is to be who you are. And I certainly didn't have that as a young woman growing up, for sure.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately we give that away, right? And we give it in exchange for our safety. And we do it with our parents, we do it with our friends, our siblings. So, we keep doing it. And that's the thing that we want to really stop. So, it's a challenge for everyone from adolescence to adulthood. And here's the toxic false narrative or the lie that we tell ourselves that we need to really, we really need to burn it down because a small lie or acting out of integrity is something that we think is justified to maintain and keep us safe. And that's a lie because, you know, at some point we believe we can't handle the momentary discomfort or admitting that we made a mistake or admitting that we disagree or even just speaking up. So the problem is that we are trading that small discomfort for our own integrity. We're chipping away at ourselves, but that small lie is really it's a heavy anchor in ourselves, right? It weighs us down, so to speak.
Yeah, well, absolutely. It's one that costs us dearly. The cost isn't external; it's in the internal dissonance, the disconnection with the truth
Mm-hmm.
of who we are. Your subconscious mind knows the truth, and every time you take a gap, you send a signal to yourself that your word, even to most especially to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is it's not trustworthy. And so this is how regret and chaos start. You are the architect of your own character, and the only one suffering from the missing links is you.
Yeah, if you think about it, you know, how can you ever feel safe if you can't even trust yourself, right? we're not here to save you from the world. We're really here to show you that you need saving from your own gaps, right? You're saving yourself from yourself, the part of you that is, following this false narrative, trying to keep you safe. And the virtuous life isn't about chasing perfection or applause. It's about thinking, it's about linking one genuine good choice to the next genuine good choice, to the next honest choice that doesn't, it doesn't chip away at your integrity.
Yeah, it's about maintaining that alignment within yourself, your own truth, right? The truth of who you know yourself to be. And, we can look at the emotional root of the gap. Why do we lie? Why do we take the shortcut? Because we confuse perfection with integrity. We believe that if we admit we missed the deadline, or if we tell a painful truth, the other person will see us as a complete failure, not worthy, right?
Right. And so we choose to have them accept us instead of choosing to not, abandon ourselves. Right. And that's a big component of it. The core constraint is also my worth is dependent on my performance or the approval from someone else. So I have to hide my imperfections. And that fear of judgment is what forces the dishonesty. The fear of, getting booted out of the group you're in. That's what forces, a continued dishonesty as well. It's fear, not malice, that breaks the chain. And every time you choose fear over truth, you actually become less free.
Freedom, as the Stoics define it, is the ability to act according to your own reason and values, unconstrained by fear or desire. And when you lie, you're not free.
Mm-hmm.
You're a slave to the anxiety of being caught. And you're a slave to the initial discomfort that you were actually trying to avoid.
Right. Right. We all have this fear of, getting kicked out, as I said, whatever circle it is that you're trying to cling into, right? Or you're trying to stay into. But, let's give ourselves a fixed point. We need to stop, falling for illusions. We need to stop falling for the hype or for the drama. We need to start using the lighthouse of clarity.
Yeah. So, if you imagine your life is a vast, stormy sea, the chaos, the group chats, the headlines, that's the external noise and the sea. And your virtue, your highest good, is the lighthouse. It stands fixed, grounded in the principles of honesty and right action. And then the fog rolling in is all the emotional illusion and wishful thinking, the hope that the mistake will fix itself, or that the lie will be forgotten, not discovered. And the Stoic commitment to seeing things as they are is the act of keeping the light on. It's confronting the truth, confronting the task that's not done, saying I messed up, or I'm procrastinating, or I misled you.
I misled you. I don't like Taylor Swift. Your character is the chain of the links that you build while you're steering by that light. And every time you do the right thing, even when it's challenging, you add a link, keeping your internal ship on a true course. And when you take a shortcut, you deliberately turn off your light. You leave yourself adrift, basically, in the fog of confusion and regret. And the work of integrity is not the big, visible, heroic act. It's the hidden moment where you see the truth, where you choose yourself, your integrity, your honesty above what somebody else is, because sometimes it's just tiny disagreement that's so fleeting, and you're trading your oh, I don't like her, for somebody else's, momentary approval. And so, where you could blame someone else for the mistake, but when you own it instead, it's owning yourself. It's standing up and trusting yourself. It's a difficult, necessary moment where, you look at your life and you say, what is the real cause? What is the true motivation? What's actually happening beyond the event? That moment of self honesty is the most powerful act of freedom that you possess and that you alone give yourself.
Mm. Yeah, we have to get curious about the material reality of the gap. A gap is just the problem and its cause, right? So what is the problem? A missed deadline. What is the cause? Maybe it's a fear of starting the work or a fear of failing. And so it's about stating the truth and facing the consequences instead of chipping away at our own integrity. By breaking it down, we strip away the moral judgment and leave only the problem to be solved. And this way, we no longer waste our emotional energy, and we don't add on more emotional baggage.
Yeah, you're not aiming for perfection, you're aiming for the unbroken consistency. A perfect chain is impossible. A mended chain is a testament to your integrity. The moment you notice a gap, the virtuous move isn't to beat yourself up, because that's just another gap. And the virtuous move, or the right move, is to immediately forge the next link by telling the truth and doing the next right action.
Yeah, and the self shaming that follows is the greatest consequence of a gap. When you lie to others, you can apologize. When you lie to yourself, you break your own anchor, your own integrity. It's You really are acting against yourself, and this is how you fail and continue in the cycle of chaos, right? The bad relationship choices, ignoring red flags, not getting promoted, feeling like an imposter, and constantly struggling to keep your head above water. All of this because your internal compass is shattered.
Yeah, that's why the focus is on building a playlist of moments you're proud of. Not a highlight reel of public achievements, but a collection of moments where you chose integrity, where you choose integrity over comfort. Every single choice, no matter how small it is, deleting the dishonest email draft, uh, not sending a text, not choosing sides because you really don't have one, right? The tough task right now, owning the mistake, that's a track on the playlist you can genuinely smile about.
Yeah, and this is all very internal, not external, right? So you
Yeah.
save yourself from chaos and regret by showing up, telling the truth, and doing the next right thing. Your character is your anchor.
Yeah, and when you haven't been practicing or noticing how many times you lie, you'll be surprised at how many times you actually agree when you disagree. But you just don't want to you don't want to bother with the discomfort, or you just don't want to have a bigger, deeper conversation. And the thing is that, look, say you don't like something, speak up, because it's important that you speak up. It's important that you value yourself and what's honest and truth for yourself, because the person that is depending on you is you. And if you can't depend on yourself, no one can really depend on you. And really, that's the most important thing. I mean, it's just like your quote earlier. But I want to go into the science just a tiny bit. When you're consistently honest and acting with integrity, you're actually engaging your prefrontal cortex, and that's your CEO brain. And in Stoicism, logic and reason are premier. And the prefrontal cortex, it loves order, clarity, and truth, and it rewards you with a sustained sense of peace and calm.
Yeah, and every time you take a shortcut or tell a little lie, you're creating a hidden file in your brain's filing cabinet or conscience, and the brain has to use massive amounts of energy to keep that hidden file separated, right?
Mhm.
And that extra processing power is experienced as stress and tension and fatigue. It's exhausting. It's the constant low level cortisol flood triggered by your amygdala, your alarm
Mhm.
system, which is worried about the hidden file being exposed. And this type of unease, that causes disease.
I recently had somebody tell me something that they had been hiding from me for a very long time. Not a client, this is personal. And after they told me, they were just like, I cannot tell you how liberated I feel. And you probably have experienced it yourself, where you finally tell somebody the truth, and you just feel it in your body, like you're no longer holding on to that. And that's what Lourdes is talking about, that buildup that you have from carrying that emotional baggage. It is true freedom to just let go of the lies that you have been telling or living with, right? Um, but the chain of good virtuous moves is a hack for your brain. Consistency simplifies the filing system. When your life is a seamless chain, your brain can file everything neatly in one place, and integrity is the lowest energy pathway for your mind. So you literally reduce stress and cortisol by being honest. And that's what my friend experienced by telling me a truth that she hadn't told me before. And you make your brain's job easier when you choose virtue.
Absolutely. I've had this experience, that very same experience myself, and certainly with clients. It's that unburdening yourself by being honest and
Mm-hmm.
really being true to who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's make this a practical daily tool using unbroken consistency. This framework ensures that we're closing those gaps link by link. So, first, detach from the illusion. The instant you feel confusion, drama, or the urge to compromise, stop and call it what it is. Say, oh, that's just hype. That's fear. It's drama. Whatever you feel yourself getting sucked into, refuse to accept the emotional noise. See the flaw as the problem and its cause, and then without attaching moral judgment, right? And then discern the next right action. Ask yourself, what move keeps me in integrity? You want to stay in integrity and truthful to yourself as much as possible day by day. And, we're not focusing on the easy move, the popular move, but the move that strengthens your integrity. It's always simple. Tell the truth, start the task, own the mistake, be honest.
Yeah, and then you know, do the move, don't negotiate. And this is where I know a lot of people know about Mel Robbins and are familiar with her 5-second rule. And this is where you can apply it into a practice of integrity. When you know the right thing to do, just count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and act. And don't let fear create a gap. Okay. And then, document the link, acknowledge the win, and recognize that you just forged a strong link in your chain. It's really important that you acknowledge yourself when you're being honest, especially to yourself. And this is not ego, this is neuroplasticity again. You're intentionally reinforcing the pathway for virtue and integrity. But most importantly, you're strengthening your own self-trust. And so, your life is not about avoiding the tough parts or the challenges. It's about living honestly and with integrity, one decision at a time. And the world doesn't need your performance. It really, really, we need your honesty. We all need to be honest. And you don't need saving from the world. You save yourself by building a life that lasts.
So we'll leave you with this bit of wisdom from our soon to be released book, A Path to Resilience, Small Steps to an Unshakable You. Real freedom comes from seeing things as they are, acting with integrity and telling the truth. Make your life a chain of virtuous moves, one right action after another. No gaps.
Yeah. Build self-trust and anchor yourself in character and integrity. It's worth it.
Absolutely. And remember, your character is your destiny, and your destiny is built one true moment at a time. Thanks so much for being here. We're walking this path right alongside you. Take care of your heart, take care of your mind, and take care of yourself. Support our work by liking, following, and subscribing, and sharing this with someone who needs a reminder that they're stronger than they think they are. We'll see you next time.